All right, so first up for number 1, in order to figure out what log of 30 is it's just a couple keystrokes on your calculator. But what those keystrokes are depend on what type of calculator you're using. On your calculator here, press the log button. And it literally just says log, L-O-G. Now, if you press the log button and it causes the word log to appear on the screen, you can just type log 30 and press enter. Now, if you press log on your calculator and gives you an error, it means that you're not doing it in the right order. On a scientific calculator, you are going to want to press 30 and then press the log button. In order to check and make sure that you are able to get the right value out, because this is going to be the foundation for everything else we do, please make sure that you can get an answer of 1.48 out of your calculator. And of course, this is rounded to 2 decimal places. Make sure you can get that value out. Now when we go on to do number 2, you need to know how to do something like number 1 because we're going to use that as part of 2. But number 2, almost every calculator requires that we know some other formula in order to be able to do it. Because in the case of number 2, most calculators just do the plain old log base 10 like number 1 was. So we have a special formula for calculating it in this situation. Please add this, the change of base formula, to your notes. And make it easy to find later, because for the next couple of days at least, you're going to be referencing a lot while you get to know it. Now, this is the change of base formula that you're going to be using to calculate something like number 2 of what we were just seeing. A couple things to note here that might help you to remember it. The thing that I always remember as a way to remember it is that B, the base, always goes on the bottom. So when you set this up, the number that is your base always goes on the bottom. Now notice the base is determined by the one that you write first. It's the one that you write smaller and lower. That's the one that always goes on the bottom. It doesn't matter which one's bigger or smaller in terms of a higher or lower number. It only matters which one's in which position. All right, let's actually practice this now. So number 2, write down number 2. And then rewrite it using the change of base formula. So when you then rewrite this using change of base formula, you should be getting log 20 over log 5. Again, the base goes on the bottom. Another way to remember base goes on the bottom, you notice the 5 here, our base is written smaller and lower. It's the lowest thing we write. And again, in the fraction, it's the lowest thing you write. Now you got to do this calculation. And again, it depends on what type of calculator you're using about how you want to punch it in. So if you're using a graphing calculator or some other calculator that'll actually just display what you type in. So if you typed in your first problem as log 30 and pressed enter, if you're doing it that way, you'll type this in pretty much as you see it. You go log 20 and the parentheses there, that's the trick with this one, then divide by log 5. Now if you're not doing it on a graphing calculator, if you're on a scientific calculator, you go 20 log, divide by 5 log, and then you have to press enter. It's remembering to press enter that is the trouble spot for a lot of people with that. Because we do 20 log divided by 5 log, and when you do that, it displays the log of 5. You have to press enter to actually make it do the division. If you do it correctly, you should be getting an answer of 1.86. Make sure you can get that answer out, and then when you can, go do 3, 4, and 5. So now we're faced with solving an exponential equation. So this technique that we're going to be talking about, we use this because the x is in the exponent. We're solving for the exponent here. And anytime we're solving for the exponent, the first thing we do is we write it as a logarithm. Because remember that when converting from exponential to logarithm form, one of the things we remembered was log always equals the exponent. That's because that's why log was invented. Log exists as a way to calculate what an exponent is. And so if you want to know the exponent converted into log form, now notice what we have as a log form. We have x equals log base 8 of 80. You now know how to calculate that value. So let's check that, make sure you're on the right track. Please go ahead and calculate, what does log base 8 of 80 equal? And include the work that you're doing on your paper. Once we've written it in change of base formula, then go ahead and do that calculation. So in this case, we do log of 80 divided by log 8. In this problem, that gives us about 2.11. I do want to be rounding it to 2 decimal places like this because it's specified to round to the nearest hundredth. Now, something I need to address with you just to make it clear. Notice in this problem, when we had log 80 divided by log 8, I couldn't just do 80 divided by 8. Because the 80 and the 8 are trapped inside logarithms, I cannot actually reduce that. Logarithm doesn't work that way, so we're not going to have that as an option. Also, you'll notice I can't cancel out the logs either. I have to do this calculation as log of 80 divided by log of 8. There isn't a shortcut around that. So be aware of that. You got to do the whole thing each time.